It's Matt from Pipes&Clix, and today I'm joined by my buddy Chris.
Hello.
We're going to do for you a two-part how to play Heroclix video. The first part is going to be an explanation of the clicks themselves, Heroclix figures, and accessories, and what to expect when you're purchasing Heroclix. And the second video is going to be a short, well, we'll try to make it short, playthrough on...
Speed it up, double time.
Yeah, we'll try to speed it up a little. Playthrough on how a game is played. We'll make a second video for that. Chris, you are not a pipe smoker.
I am not.
As a lot of my friends are not. But what are your what are your feelings on pipe smoking?
You know, for me, it's always been kind of thing that, you know, the distinguished people did. My grandfather smoked a pipe. I don't smoke anything because I have a allergy to smoke in general, so I can't even be around like fire pits or anything like that. But yeah, you know, you see him in the movies with the Gandalf and stuff like that, and smoking a pipe. It looks pretty cool. I like his pipes when he posts them. They look really sweet. But so that's why I know they look sweet, and I have no idea what it tastes like. I'm not gonna find out because I'll be coughing this whole video. But you know. Okay,
so now we got that out of the way. So what we're going to do next is show you what each figure looks like and what you will need when you play Heroclix. And
we want to talk about where to get them first before we get on.
Actually, yeah. So yeah, we can let you guys know that most comic book stores and or collectible toy stores will carry Heroclix figures,
such as Adventureland store in scenic Voorhees, New Jersey.
That's where we usually play. And you can also find them online, multiple different websites. Just for instance, there's a site called trollandtoad.com that a lot of people go to buy their Heroclix. But for the most part, most local comic book stores will have them. And you can find them in 5-figure booster packs or single-figure, what they call gravity feed packs. They're like small foil packs that contain one figure, and you'll also find super boosters, and then in each booster pack you're going to find 5 randomly distributed figures, and then the gravity feed packs are going to be 1 random distributed figure. You never know what you're going to get in your boosters. That's kind of half the fun of when you're buying figures.
All blind.
Yeah, they're all blind boxes, so you kind of, you know, hope and wish you're going to get something good, and maybe you do, maybe you don't. So that's a lot of the fun of this game, is just collecting in general. So, all right.
The gravity feeds are usually $3. If you see them for more than that, don't buy them. And the packs are up to what, 13 now?
Yeah, $13, $14 is usually the for the 5-figure boosters.
And they also sell things called Fast Forces packs, or sometimes they're starter sets that come with more of this other stuff. But Fast Forces usually come with 6 figures. Sometimes they throw in a 7th that's a little different, and sometimes they have an item in them too. And they'll just be a specific theme. So it might be all, you know, like the last one was Batman and all villains of Batman, if I recall. I think that's what it was.
Yeah.
So you can all buy them that. So those ones you see what you buy, you know what's in those packs. And they're how much Fast Force is going for these days?
They're usually about the same as a booster, about $13, $14, $15, and they're like a good way to, if you want to just get right into the game, buy a couple of figures and play a game right away. That's a good way to do it, is by buying a Fast Forces pack.
All right, we're getting to the nitty gritty.
Yeah, let's. The next thing we're going to show you is we'll go up close and personal on all the different types of figures and accessories. So now we're going to take a look at each individual figure and what to expect in when you're buying Heroclix and when you're looking at Heroclix. This is the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles super rare Raphael. Now, when I say super rare, each figure, when you're buying them, they're going to be in different rarity levels. And you can find the rarity levels by looking at the set symbol on the back of the figure. And when it's gold, like this one is, this is going to show you that this is a super rare figure. Green is going to resemble a uncommon. White is going to be a common. The silver one will be a rare. The gold, as you can see here, is a super rare. And then you'll see a bronze color that will represent a limited edition or a prize figure. So this is from the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Wave 2 set, Raphael. And the first thing you're going to notice is going to be when you look at the dial, you're going to see different symbols, numbers, and a lot of this stuff is going to confuse you when you first look at these figures. You're going to say, oh geez, what the heck am I going to look at here? Well, right off the bat, you can see that you've got the figure's name, Raphael, okay? And as you turn your figure around, you're going to see how many points the figure is worth, the set symbol, and the rarity, okay? The next thing you're going to find is going to be the figure's number. If I can get the camera to focus on that. This one is 027 of the set. And then you're going to have a bunch of symbols in the front of the dial here, and the dial itself. The dial itself is an open notch, okay? And next to the numbers in the dial, okay, there's going to be symbols. In this case, it'll be a boot, a fist, a shield, and a little explosion, and then a lightning bolt with a number next to it. And then you're going to have a plus and a star here. Now everything in this actually means something. They're not just throwing symbols and pictures on the dial. In this case, the boot here is going to show you that Raphael can only walk, right? There's going to be other figures that can fly and swim and stuff like that, but this Raphael is saying that he's only able to walk. The fist is going to show you that he's a regular attacker. The defense is going to show you that he just has a regular natural defense. And then the damage symbol, this is the damage symbol. This is going to show you that he's a normal-sized figure. The lightning bolt is going to show you his targeting and how many targets he can hit from range. The number next to that is going to be the squares in range that he can target someone. So if he has a 3, he can target someone from 3 squares away on the map. The squares on the map look like that, right? So then when you come into the figure's dial itself, you can see numbers and colors. I'm sorry, my camera is not really focusing too well. So the first thing we've got here is next to the boot, you're going to see the number 10. Okay, and that's going to symbolize that he can move 10 squares on the map. The next one down here is going to be the fist, and that's going to show you his accuracy, or how easy it is for him to hit the enemy. You're going to see the little number 11 here. Now the number in the attack value is going to be when you're trying to see if you hit someone. So in the game of Heroclix, everything is done with 2 6-sided dice. So when you try to attack someone, you're going to roll 2 6-sided dice, and you're going to compare your attack value plus the result of your 6-sided dice roll against your opponent's defense value. And if that's equal to or greater than your opponent's defense value, you hit them. And you'll do damage, which is next to the damage symbol, in clicks. So now, Chris, if you could show us what the clicks actually means.
So if Raphael here, with his 3 damage, were to hit himself, you would click him 3 times. So 1, 2, 3. So as you can see, some of his powers and his numbers have changed. As you go through a dial, that'll you get new powers, lose powers, numbers go up, numbers go down, depending on the characters, and that's what makes it interesting.
And then as you KO, as you deal the clicks damage, they'll actually show you when they'll be defeated by showing a KO symbol at the end of their dial. So as you can see, right there, it shows you that he's been defeated. Okay, so now that we've seen basically what you're looking at in the stats dial, now you're also going to see these 2 other symbols on the side here. These are going to represent that whether the character has some sort of improved movement or improved targeting, and then also whether or not the character has a traded ability. So the star is going to symbolize that he has a traded ability, and the cross is going to show that he has a improved movement or improved targeting ability. So let's go ahead and show you another kind of figure and what else we're going to be looking at.
Alright, so here we have the world's finest figure. It's Superman and Batman, as you can see, from the world's finest set, go figure. So there's quite a few differences in this figure than the last one you saw. So the main thing is, this one has a big silver circle around it. That means it's called a unique figure. So most figures, even though it might seem odd, you can play the same figure multiple times on the same team. So you could have that Raphael figure, if you have 4 of it, you can play 4 of it together as long as it fits within your points. But if a unique figure, you can only have one on your team no matter what. So you can see he still has the star for the trait symbol, but he does not have any kind of improved movement or improved targeting. He also has the wing instead of the boot, so he can fly. This double fist indicates it's a duo figure. Duo figures can attack twice in a row. You lose a damage the second attack, but it gives you 2 attacks, for one for Superman, one for Batman. You also see on the shield here, there's a line through it. That means the character is indomitable. So normally in Heroclix, you can only go 1 action, and you get an action token. If you go on your next turn with the same figure, they're going to take a click of damage, because you're pushing them too hard. That's why it's called pushing. But in indomitable figures, you can go twice in a row without taking any damage. You can't go more than twice in a row unless you have a specific other power, but that is a really helpful ability to have. Again, set number, set name, and he's also a super rare, so he's got the same color. But you'll see here that there's 3 different point costs. You probably can't see the numbers because they're really, really tiny, but this figure you can actually play 3 different point costs. So depending on what kind of team you're playing, what other figures you want to play with him, you can choose which of these point values you want to go with. The next thing you'll see here is these 2 symbols, the Batman symbol and the Superman symbol. These are team abilities. Most figures that have a team ability only have 1, but this figure has 2. There are some that have multiples, just like this. There's one figure that has 3, I believe. That's the most I think I've seen. But these will give you different abilities as well. So there's a whole list of all the different team abilities and what powers they give you. So if you see these kind of symbols on a figure, that means that's their team abilities.
All right, so the next figure we're going to take a look at is this Mermaid. Now she's not really so special, and now you can see the difference in the set symbols. Okay, we've got a green for the uncommon. Okay, the one main difference of this figure is that she has this dolphin symbol instead of the boot or the wing that you've seen in the 2 previous figures. The dolphin symbol just is going to symbolize that she's a swimming character and that she will ignore water terrain on the map for her movement purposes only. Other than that, she's got basically the same sorts of things that you're going to see on her dial. And then we can check out someone new after that.
Alright, so next we're going to bring out AntMan here. So again, you see he's got 2 different point costs on this one. He's got trade and improved movement, so you're going to see all the different figures have different things. The aspect of this figure that we haven't shown you yet is that it's a common figure, so it's got the white on the set symbol. It's from the Age of Ultron set. And then the next part is over in the damage slot. You'll see that atom looking thing. That means that the figure is a tiny figure. It means that you get a plus to your defense when you're being shot at from range because you're small. Also means you can be carried by bigger size figures, which is very, very useful in this game. Obviously, not knowing how to play, and you don't really know yet how useful that is, but you'll see soon. And that's the tiny symbol.
All right, the next thing we've got to look at here is Deadshot. And a lot of people who have been into like the Suicide Squad movie or the Arrow TV show have seen this guy. Now this is the first figure we're going to look at with the bronze colored set symbol. This is symbolizing that this is a prize or a limited edition figure. Then the next thing we're going to take a look at here is the fact that this character has, instead of a fist, he's got like a little crosshairs here. This is going to show you that this figure has the sharpshooter ability, which means that normally when you're at range, you can just hit someone. So if, say, Deadshot wanted to take a shot at AntMan over here, he can go ahead and make a shot. But in any other situation, if these two characters are next to each other, they can't attack each other with a ranged combat attack. It would have to be a simple punch or a regular attack. Now, a character with the sharpshooter ability says that he can attack this character with a ranged combat attack, even when they're close up. So that's really, really interesting and a really cool power to be able to use, especially for a character like Deadshot, where most of his powers are based on his ranged combat. This character also is going to be, I think, the first one that we've showed you so far with a really, really long range, so he can hit you from 7 squares away, and he can also target 2 people at once when he shoots. So that's a really cool ability to have too.
Alright, so our next figure up is Angel. He's another limited edition figure. He's on here because his difference is, you'll see in the speed slot, he's got the wing, but it's got this filled-in circle around it. Whenever you have a figure, it could be wing, dolphin, or boot that has that symbol on it, it means that they are a transporter, which means that regardless of whether or not they are a flying character or not, they can carry another figure. And they can also have a move and attack ability that has some drawbacks to it, but it's something that you don't normally have. Normally in the game, you can either move or you can attack unless you have a specific power that lets you do both. This is one of those things, but instead of being on the dial, it's actually on the base. So anytime you see this filled-in little circle there on the movement slot, no matter what kind of movement it is, flight, dolphin, or boot, that means that the character is a transporter.
Next up, we're coming up on some coolness here. This particular guy is going to be Alloy, and he comes to us from the World's Finest set. This particular figure is the first figure that we're going to be showing you that is a giant. So now if you look at the damage symbol here, this is going to show that it's like a smaller guy next to a bigger guy. All right. Now this is a giant figure. Now you can see basically next to a regular size figure that he is pretty giant. Now with giants, the cool thing that you can do with them is that they mostly ignore terrain for movement and for line of fire, and they can also carry smaller figures. So now you'd say, oh, that's great, because it makes them be able to carry just about everybody in the game. But there's actually figures that are bigger than this guy. So for instance, we'll show you.
Here we have Shuma Garath. Now, as you can see, he is quite large, and he's actually one of the few figures that has a moving feature. But he has this gigantic fist down here. You can see it's a little dark because he's underneath his tentacle here. But that marks it as a colossal figure. So Colossals have pretty much all the same advantages that Giants do, just more. They get added to them. But you can also pretty much see them from anywhere, from any character. You cannot hide them from anybody. He's got pretty much a lot of the same stuff that all the other figures do. Just because they're Colossal doesn't mean they don't have the same kind of things, same dial, same symbols. Point costs. He's a limited edition figure. He was actually an exclusive figure. And their set number. So Colossal figures are just like the others. So we'll see here, put the giant there, put Raphael there, so you can see the differences in size. And there are Colossal figures that are infinitely bigger than this guy too.
Much bigger.
Like way up to here. Even bigger than that, actually. I don't know why I held my hand that low. But, so that's the different size figures you can get. These are the kind of guys that you would get in one of those super boosters Matt mentioned in the beginning. Super boosters generally will just come with one figure. It'll be a big figure like this that you can play. So they only make those in sets every once in a while. There's only been a couple sets that have had them.
Alright, so next up we're going to show you vehicles. This is the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Turtle Van from the Ninja Turtles set. You can see how cool it is next to the turtles themselves. Yeah, it looks pretty cool when they're all together with the turtle van. So with vehicles, basically the only difference with their dials are going to be two things. the main thing is going to be that they can carry more than one figure. On most cases, they can carry more than one figure, and it's symbolized by the little man with the number next to it. That shows that this vehicle can carry 4 people at once. And then they've also got, for their defense symbol, they've got a steering wheel. And that's basically just to show that they're a vehicle. And this vehicle symbol means different things for different vehicles themselves. So in order to figure out what the vehicle has powers-wise from having the vehicle symbol, you just basically check their character card. Now, when I say character card, this is not the character card for the vehicle, but every single figure in Heroclix has a character card. Now, the character cards are going to show if they have traded powers, what that means, their special powers, and then their regular powers and abilities. It'll also show their set number. Okay, it'll be a little picture of the figure, his name, and then they'll also show keywords. When you're building teams, you're going to be using. Sorry for the light there. You're going to be using keywords to build your teams. A lot of people like to build teams that are just based on actual existing teams. Other people don't. You don't ever have to actually do that. Then on the back of the card, this is just a recent addition to the game of Heroclix. They started putting the character's dial on the back of the card, where you can see all the characters' powers and abilities, and on each click what the numbers are going to change to. And it'll also show you the character's point cost and where they came from. So, the next thing we can show you is something pretty cool.
So this is a team base. As you can see, it's got lots of characters on it. This is Excalibur from the 1990s. They haven't actually made team bases in a very long time. There's actually no modern team bases left anymore, but they are really cool looking and they are quite powerful. The main difference with team bases than regular figures is that, as you can see, there's multiple figures on them, but you can also take the figures off. So each individual one of these figures can come off the base, and they have their own base that you can put them in. So you can play them all as individual figures if you want to, or you can play them as the team base, and in the middle of your game, you can pop figures off your team base to play by themselves, and then put them back on the team base to make it stronger. Every team base has an extra thing. So you'll see that there's the regular dial here, and that symbol there is the team base symbol, the little circle. But then they also have an asset dial that gives them different powers depending on which slot of character is showing on the base itself. So if I believe if it's on Shadowcat, you'll have phasing for the team base, and so it changes depending on you can click it different ways to get different powers. So team bases are really cool looking. They're one of my favorite looking things they've ever produced in the game. But like I said, there have not been any new ones in a while, but kind of hoping they make some new ones soon.
Next up is a really interesting aspect of the game. These are resources and relics. Now, resources and relics are things that you can add to your force to make them more powerful. In this, we've got the Batman weapon drop. So this is like something that Batman would drop from a satellite to give him some weapons. Now, in this case, the weapon drop is basically if someone is next to it, they can pick it up and have it activate different powers that they can use. And then it would change from turn to turn. So this is pretty cool. Just a couple of extra points, I believe. Let's see, this guy is 8 points. So 8 points to possibly add some. There's the focus. Possibly add some interesting powers to your character. And then we've got this is called the Avengers Round Table. This is a resource dial. This is one of the most recent resource dials in the game. Resource dials all do different things. This particular one, you can use character ID cards that pop into these slots all around the dial, and can be used to call in figures from outside the game, and also to empower figures that are attached to the resource dial. Now, certain resource dials can be attached to your entire force, and other resource dials will only be attached to one figure in particular on your force. This one is attached to your entire force. So that's always really cool. And this is not a very expensive resource to use. It's from 10 to 35 points. So like when you're building your force and you just have some extra points to throw on, you can use this to fill up points, or you can build your entire team around using this resource dial. Some people do either way, but it's always a real fun thing to try to strategize with.
All right, the next special kind of figure we're going to look at isn't technically a different kind of figure. It's got the same, it's giant sized, it's got all the same symbols and everything. This is Ion from the War of Light set. But what it does do, well, first of all, it's the first figure I think we've shown you that's got a double base. So we see a lot of these guys in the set that are just bigger, whether it's Ghost Rider on his motorcycle or something like that, that just take up too much room to be on a single base, so they double up in size. So he's a giant figure, but he's more horizontal, not as much vertical, so they put him on the double base. But what he does do is he's called a Possessor figure. These entities from Green Lantern stories, from the War of Light set, were the first ones of those. So you can either play them as a normal figure for, as you can see his point cost here, nice little hefty 225, or you can play them as a Possessor figure for a measly 25 points. So what that means is he stays off the map, and you pick another figure that he is possessing. And then that figure that he's possessing gains abilities, and he gains better numbers from having Ion on him. So there's pretty much been about one Possessor in every set since these guys came out. So it seems to be a mechanic that they're actually going with, that they're going to keep using. So there's been different kinds like Brainiac and people like that can get inside your brain and possess. So it's a pretty popular mechanic. That's what he can do. But there's no symbol on him that tells us that he's a Possessor. He can just do that, and his card has that power listed on it.
And finally, we're going to take a look at one of the newest mechanics. Excuse my little son making his noise in his background there. This is one of the newest game mechanics in the game of Heroclix, and this is basically what's called a Clix FX base. Now, Clix FX bases are just these little plastic markers that come with figures, or you can buy them separately. In this case, this is Spider-Man's marker, and this is basically just going to show you that if he hits you, he's going to web you up and make it so that you can't move. It's a really neat thing. Lots of different Heroclix figures have them for different reasons. For instance, there's a few figures that'll have them to light you on fire and make you burn for a couple of turns, which is pretty cool. This one is just, like I said, it's just Spider-Man's web marker. But it's a really neat new mechanic that they're trying to add into the game. It's pretty neat. So now we're going to show you some things that you'll need when you're playing Heroclix. First thing you're going to need is a map. Now this particular map is a premium map that you can purchase at whatever stores are carrying your Heroclix figures. They'll usually sell these premium maps as well. They're printed on like a neoprene rubber, almost like if you play card games like Magic the Gathering, the play mats that you'd use. The regular Heroclix maps are going to be printed on like a thick paper, and they're usually, you can attain them from playing in tournaments, or some stores will sell them. But they're pretty cool too. They're all different maps in the game for whatever kind of place you want to play at, whether it's be the Danger Room or the Baxter Building, or any place that you'd want to play in, Wayne Manor, something like that. And this one is a dock, a shipping dock. Now you're going to see lots of different colors and stuff on the map. Now every different color and every different type of thing you're looking at on the map is actually something that can be used in the game. The first thing we're going to go look at is there's going to be this purple line. I don't know if you can actually tell that that's purple. There we go. So we've got a purple line, and that's going to be on both sides of the map. One's all the way over there, and it's that box all the way across the map there. and then one on this side. It goes all the way across. Okay, now these are going to be your starting areas. So when I say starting areas, at the beginning of the game when you're building your force and you're putting your force out on the map and trying to figure out who goes first. You're going to place all your figures in the starting area. Now they can be anywhere in the starting area as long as they're within this purple line. Okay. The next thing we're going to look at is green color. Now green color is going to symbolize hindering terrain. Hindering terrain is anything that would hinder your movement or your line of fire. So if you're moving through it, it's like it's hard to walk across or run through. And if you're shooting through it, it's something that would make it hard for you to see the enemy on the other side of or in some cases, and make it harder for you to hit them. Then we're going to have blue, okay, and that's pretty obvious. Blue is water. Water is the same as hindering terrain, where it would hinder your movement, but water does not hinder your line of fire. So it's basically the same as hindering terrain, but it's just for movement. Then we're going to have brown. This actually kind of looks more orange than brown, but brown in the game of Heroclix on the map is going to be blocking terrain. Blocking terrain is something that you can't move through unless you have the flight ability or you have, say, leap climb or phasing teleport, something that will allow you to ignore terrain completely. You can't move through it and you can't shoot through it unless, of course, you have a character who can destroy blocking terrain along their line of fire. Now, this is very few and far between, but there are characters who can do that. And then finally, we've got red lines. Now, red lines with these numbers next to them with arrows, it's going to symbolize elevation. Elevation is basically the numbers, okay? You're going to see, say, a 1 and a 2. Sometimes it goes higher, like a 3, 4, 5, 6. The different elevations are going to show that, like, say, 1 would be ground level and 2 would be, say, level 2. Elevation is only reached by characters who have the leap climb ability or have the flight ability or have the phasing teleport ability that can move straight up, or characters who use ladders or stairs to get up to them. And it's usually makes it easier to see your opponent from elevation. Also, it's easy to hide from someone who's on a lower level by using elevation. And it also acts like a wall. So, like, let's say if you're on the other side of an elevation, like over here, and this, your opponent's over here, they can't see each other because it's like a wall that's in the way. So that's always pretty interesting.
Alright, so these are some other items that you need to play Heroclix. Well, some you don't necessarily need, but are helpful. So first, these are things that you definitely need, especially depending on what kind of characters you're using. These will come in any standard starter pack. When we do something that goes through specific powers, there are certain powers that put out different items. So these are barrier tokens. They count as blocking terrain, so they have the brown around them. So there's different characters that have barriers, so they can put up a wall. So, for instance, you have a Green Lantern figure who puts up a nice big green wall. You would put these down on the map in the squares to create your own blocking terrain. They act just the same as any other kind of blocking terrain, so they can be blown up. If you can do that, they can be flown over if you're a flyer, but they basically just put out their own blocking terrain. The next is Smoke Cloud. So these can go down, and they act just like hindering terrain. So if someone, say Batman, pops out, pulls down a smoke pellet to disappear, these go down on the map, on whatever squares you put them on, and they turn into hindering terrain. These special tokens are pretty much used for whatever you might happen to need them for. So there's different characters that might put down different items, might put down other little characters that you can use in little POG form. They can be used if there's certain characters that make water terrain come out. You could use special for that. So it's basically whatever you need them for. So all three of these kind of tokens come in starter sets. You need them for different figures. So those are definitely required. The next thing that you need is items. So these are light objects with the yellow, heavy objects with the red, and ultra heavy with the purple. Let's put those in order. So what these are is basically you have characters in the game that have super strength. That allows them to pick up objects and hit people with them. So the light objects do 1 extra damage when you pick them up. The heavy objects do 2, and the ultra heavies do 3. In order to pick up an ultra heavy, you have to have super strength and be at least 100 points, because they're bigger, obviously. You can also throw these. They have different distances you can throw them, depending on their heaviness. And then there's also figures that have telekinesis, and they can move the objects using their mind. So you can throw them at people using your telekinesis. So these are objects you definitely need to have for the game. You can put out 3 during your turn. If you're not playing figures with that, you can choose not to use them. That's up to you. But these also act as hindering terrain, which is another good reason to use them. So say you have a Batman team that uses a lot of stealth and you want to have a lot of hindering out, but none of them are super strong. You still might want to use objects. You can use all light objects if you want to make it less dangerous against you, and put them out there just to add some extra hindering. So if I'm moving up here and I have this sitting here, now I got blocking, 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 and hindering there. It's almost impossible for someone to hit me if I'm sitting in this spot without having a little detriment to that. So that's what the objects are for. Again, these come in the starter sets. If you were to get a starter set, so you're going to get those when you start to play. So all those come in the starter sets. You're also going to get a pair of dice in starter sets. These are Matt's fancy heavy dice. These are not the kind that would come in the starter set, but you need at least 2 6-sided die. Some people have extra dice because there's certain things you don't need to roll 1 die for, so people have 1 die specific things. But you at least need to have 2 6-sided dice when you're playing the game. The next thing you need is some kind of marker. So as we mentioned earlier, when you're playing the game, you can do 1 action at a time during your turn, and then you can do on the next turn, but you'll take some damage. So how you do that is, they sell these little pog things, poker chips, that are action tokens. So after I try to hit somebody with Donatello or move, I will mark him with that to show that he has gone this turn. If I go the next turn, he gets a second one, and he takes a click of damage. And that's how you would show that they've been used. At the end of your next turn, you would take these off to show that now he's available to use on your following turn. So the action tokens are very important, so you know what you're doing, what you've done with each character, what turns. Now you don't have to use these. Like I said, they sell these with dice and token packs, they call them. But you don't have to use those. You can use anything. I have little plastic rubber chickens. People use coins. You can use these little things here that you can get from fish tanks, things like that. Whatever you want to use for your own personal way to use as action tokens, you can do so. People just like these because A, they look pretty cool, and you can put them directly under the figure, so it takes up less room on the map and that kind of thing. The next item is a line. You don't necessarily need this to play the game, but it's definitely very helpful. So this will tell you if you can see somebody in the game. I'm sure it's hard to see the line because it's a black line and it's on the darker map. But so if I have Donatello and Raphael, and they're like that, and Raphael's trying to hit Donatello, you would use this and put it at the center of Raphael's square and the center of Donatello's square. So this line here passes across this blocking terrain, which means I cannot see Donatello. That blocks it. If I move Raphael here, it's a straight shot, and you can see him. So you use these for very tight corners. Most of the time when you're looking for line of sight, line of fire, you can tell. It's pretty clear. But sometimes you get these really sharp angles, and it's very, very helpful to have this thing so you know for sure to avoid arguments between the people playing the game.
All right, next we're going to look at the rules book. So you're going to get a rules book if you buy a starter pack. As far as I know, the only way you can get a rules book is by getting a starter pack. You can also download it, yeah. So in the rules book, it's literally going to give you everything you need to know to play the game of Heroclix. I'm not going to go over every single page, but you're definitely going to need yourself one of these. Whether you download it or you buy one in a starter pack, you're definitely going to need one to learn how to play. We'll do our best to show you the flow of the game in our next video, but basically to catch everything for yourself, it's always better to read and reread all the rules for yourself. And then you're going to see what you're going to get also is a powers and abilities card or a pack. Now on this powers and abilities card is going to be every single power and ability referenced in the game. So if you have your character and you want to know what this, let's see, we gotta focus. Okay, I want to know what this pink movement power is, right? I'm seeing, oh, what's pink mean? I don't know. So I go ahead and look over here. Down I find speed. So these are all the speed powers. And I go down to find where pink is. And then pink is sidestep. So in this case, sidestep says give this character a free action. And it can move with a lock speed value of 2. So anytime you ever need to figure out what a power and ability does, you can always go ahead and reference the powers and abilities card. So you're going to see speed powers, attack powers, defense powers, damage powers, and in the back you're going to see a reference as to what all those symbols on the character's figures mean. Anything that you might see printed on the character's card in the way of, you know, ignoring terrain for movement or ignoring terrain for line of fire. What being colossal gives you, what being giant gives you, what flying gives you. You know, everything that you would want to know is pretty much printed on this card. And it also shows you a map guide. So if you want to know what the lines on the map mean, it'll tell you that. So also a lot of times on the character's cards, it'll say okay, pink, it'll say sidestep, or green for movement, it'll say charge. For the defense, the gray defense will say invulnerable. So, you know, that it'll give you an idea of what the power is, but it doesn't actually tell you what the power does. So you can pretty much just kind of go over to the powers and abilities card and figure out, you know, say invulnerable. You find invulnerable, vulnerability, damage dealt to this character is reduced by 2. So it's pretty easy to figure out as long as you have one of these. Another thing to get is if you have an Android phone, I don't think iPhones have it yet, but there's a really helpful app called Heroclix Rules. It's basically like a rules book and a powers and abilities card all rolled up into one. It's pretty helpful. So yeah, with that, we're going to go ahead and end this part of the video, and we will see you on the next part, which is going to be our walkthrough of how our game is played. Hopefully you've enjoyed this first part, and we will see you next time. Thanks.